Well, I'm a little bit closer to you.
So where are you now?
Right now, I'm in Panama City Beach, Florida with my family.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, well, soon you're going to make it here. Aren't you going to stop here on your way to the Dominican Republic, or to pick me up?
Yes,
Pick me
yes.
up?
I think I can arrange that. Yeah. Since you guys are literally right next to each other.
Yes. Well, yeah, it sounds so easy, but wait till you see how expensive it is. Depending on the time of year, of course. Depending on the time of year.
Yeah.
So let
Yeah,
me
I've heard. I've
let
heard
me
the
pull
flights
up.
aren't cheap.
Yeah, I'm going to pull up the blessings so we can get started here. Okay. Of course, we start by offering our respectful obeisances to our spiritual masters. Um, so, Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Manunatha Prabhu Iti Namine Vandeham Sri Karuna Nalvasya Prabhu Padavani Anunirisham Sriman Manunatha Adhikarinam Sastranikunam Sastram Ritapam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavari Pashkatya Deshitanine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Garadara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hari Krishna Hari Krishna 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 Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna 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 Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama 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 Hari 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 Krishna Hari Krishna 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 Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama 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 Hari Hari. See if I can keep the cats out of my room for long enough to proceed. Okay.
One question before we start. Is there too much background noise when I'm off mute?
No. Is
Okay.
there background noise over here?
No, you're fine. I'm outside, so I didn't know if the birds were disturbing.
No. I gotta really close the door because this has to be convincing. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narotamam Devim Sarasvatim Vyashisham Tato Jayam Udirayet. Before reciting this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayana, unto Narayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Sarasvati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadev, the author. Nashta Prayeshva Babadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavat Yotama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Now, as I pointed out in the chat, we are up to, in our reading of the Srimad Bhagavatam, we are up to first canto, second canto, first chapter, text 20, which I will begin this time. Okay, let's see. Rajastamo bhuyam akshiptyam vimudamana atmanaha yachetara diro hantiyatat kritam malam. So the translation, uh, one's mind is always agitated by the passionate mode of material nature and bewildered by the ignorant mode of nature. But one can rectify such conceptions by the relation of Vishnu and thus become pacified by cleansing the dirty things created by them. Now I will read the purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Jai. Persons generally conducted by the modes of passion and ignorance cannot be bona fide candidates for being situated in the transcendental stage of God realization. Only persons conducted by the mode of goodness can have the knowledge of the supreme truth. Effects of the modes of passion and ignorance are manifested by too much hankering after wealth and women. And those who are too much after wealth and women can rectify their leanings only by constant remembrance of Vishnu in his potential impersonal feature. Generally, the impersonalists or monists are influenced by the modes of passion and ignorance. Such impersonalists think of themselves as liberated souls, but they have no knowledge of the transcendental personal feature of the absolute truth. Actually, they are impure in heart on account of being devoid of knowledge of the personal feature of the absolute. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that after many hundreds of births, the impersonal philosopher surrenders unto the personality of Godhead. To acquire such a qualification of God realization in the personal feature, the neophyte impersonalist is given a chance to realize the relation of the Lord in everything by the philosophy of pantheism. Pantheism, in its higher status, does not permit the student to form an impersonal conception of the absolute truth, but it extends the conception of the absolute truth into the field of the so-called material energy. Everything created by the material energy can be dovetailed with the absolute by an attitude of service, which is the essential part of living energy. The pure devotee of the Lord knows the art of converting everything into its spiritual existence by this service attitude. And only in that devotional way can the theory of pantheism be perfected. So I will repeat the translation of the verse. One's mind is always agitated by the passionate mode of material nature and bewildered by the ignorant mode of nature. But one can rectify such conceptions by the relation of Vishnu and thus become pacified by cleansing the dirty things revealed by them. It's a wonderful, wonderful verse. And this, first, I must go back and mention that in the text number 19, the concept of Omkara was introduced, and we were a little bit confused about that. And Guru Maharaja does promise to make us a recording in English discussing this concept of meditation and how the word is spelled and why it is spelled that way, and how devotees use it, and he promises to do that. So I just wanted to mention that before going forward, because this verse is now somehow related, because now we see that we are affected by the material modes of nature, and until we can really enter into the mode of goodness, we have a very hard time with our spiritual realization of the personality of Godhead. Okay? Because we get stuck by the passionate mode of material nature, we get agitated by it, and we're bewildered by the ignorant mode of nature. It says it right here. So what do? What is the way out? Well, we learn basically to meditate, as in the previous verse. We may learn to meditate. We have to focus our mind somehow in some way in order to begin to connect to the form of the formless energy of Krishna, you know. But here we go on to it goes on to explain, or Prabhupada goes on to explain that we can also use pantheism. And I don't know how many of you have ever been into pantheism, but I used to think it was the greatest thing in the world. I thought that nature was wonderful, and this was wonderful to get up and just worship nature. Thank you, God, for nature. And maybe nature itself was God, because being stuck in this mode of ignorance, and thinking and passion, just wanting to enjoy and seeing the wonderful things around me and thinking, oh, this is total enjoyment. These wonderful things. I love this tree. I've hugged trees. I don't know. Have any of you ever hugged trees? Put your hand up if you've
Yes.
ever hugged a tree. So this is wonderful, because this moves us along, brings us a little bit out of that impersonal feeling that we had just by sitting and chanting Om, and trying to connect to the energy in that way. Now we move beyond that, and we recognize God in the material objects, which, well, maybe the trees are alive, maybe they're not material objects, but here in the purport, it is explained as focusing, bringing the spiritual into the material objects. So we can focus on that in a pantheistic way, and this will help our progress. Of course, this is not where we're supposed to stop, and I'm sure in the next verses we're going to go further than that. Even at the end of this verse, it mentions that we must, develop the attitude of service. We must begin to recognize, and what better part of nature to than Tulsi, than Tulasi Devi, to recognize, the divine in in a natural thing like a pantheist. But now we can go beyond that, and we can see that this plant has a personality. This is Tulsi Devi. We can go on, we can recognize the forms of Krishna, and we begin to put our attention there. And as we're moving into the modes of goodness, this is all a gradual process. Little by little, we let go of the passion and the ignorance with our great desire to move forward into the mode of goodness. And eventually, we come, some people go directly, but other people go through process that includes meditating, om, that includes, worshiping of all these wonderful things around us, and gets finally to the realization that this is all created by God. This is all here. We are here to realize that. We've come back many, 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 many times to just keep meditating and worshiping nature, and keep meditating and worshiping nature, and be, so involved in the modes of ignorance and passion, you know? Maybe this lifetime we were fortunate enough to have a better karma. Maybe we're set in the mode of goodness, and now we can, more easily leave behind those passions and ignorance, and move into the mode of goodness, and move on into our the possibility of Krishna consciousness. Because who are we to say that we're even conscious? All we can say is that we are indeed trying. We're doing everything that we can think of to try, and we start with the very basic Om, but we move forward until we get to Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, having said all that, I'm now open for more comments on this verse.
I'm for me, I'm interested in this definition of pantheism. I don't know what exactly is, because Prabhupada brought it up. What exactly is the definition of pantheism?
Well, pantheist is one who sees God in nature, who sees
Mm.
nature as God or sees God in nature. It's kind of like an essence thing, but now we're moving into a material form. Now we're seeing it in nature. That's what a
Oh,
pantheist worships.
God, oh, I see. So worships nature, the trees, the
Yes.
cycles of the. Oh, okay, yeah, I understand. Yeah, I can. I definitely know a few people that have actually come to Krishna consciousness through this path of actually seeing God in nature. Because like for instance, some that are were atheists before, you'll bring up the argument, well, in nature, you see that everything has order, and where you find order, you find intelligence. Like the sun rises at a certain time, it sets at a certain time, the seasons change. And I was just talking with my mom about we were listening to the we were out here listening to the birds, and I was saying it's nice to be able to hear the birds because I don't get to hear so many in Tucson because it's a little too dry. And she said that it took a long time for the birds to come back after the hurricane because all the birds had left. They have this like innate sense of knowing, like from Super Soul, when there's danger coming and they leave. So this idea of, pantheism, I appreciate how you were saying how you were really into it at first, seeing God in nature and things like this. And that's useful, for someone who's maybe elevating themselves up from like atheism or something like that, because at least you know that there's something higher than yourself. But I also loved how you mentioned how you were wanting to like kind of like enjoy this and enjoy that. So there's still some idea of, oh, I'm gonna enjoy what's in nature, or it's for my own personal enjoyment. So really, I think Prabhupada hits the nail on the head here when he talks about how there has to be a service attitude, because even though we were talking about the chanting of, or the meditation of Omkar before, even with yogis and things like that, there can still be some like self-centeredness in a spiritual way. It's like, okay, I'm going to elevate myself spiritually, I'm going to make spiritual advancement, forget about the rest of the world. But with Krishna consciousness, there's this attitude of, everything here that I have here is not mine, but it's meant to be used for the service of the Lord. And my life is also meant for helping others come to the devotional service of the Lord. And so that's really when you get into the mode of, pure goodness. This report was talking about how you're in passion and ignorance. You can't really understand. And you had talked about this earlier, passion. And I thought about the mode of passion, and the mode of passion, people are always they're never satisfied, they're hankering, they're wanting more. Wherever they're at, it's not good enough. They could have enough money to live for the rest of their life, still they got to think of how to increase. I know millionaires like this. They're always thinking, how can I increase my profit? Something like this. But then when you don't get what you get caught in this crazy web, because when you don't get what you want, or when something doesn't turn out the way you're wanting when you're in the mode of passion, you slip into hankering, and you slip into lamentation and depression, which is Tamagun. So you end up, and then somebody gets you back up and says, "No, no, 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 get up and fight again." So then you go back into the mode of passion and back into the mode of ignorance. I mean, it's like Duryodhana when he, trying to remember that part in the Mahabharata where he got rescued by the Pandavas because he was kidnapped. He was kidnapped by the Gandharvas, and Yudhishthir went over there and said, "Let him go. He's family." And then I think after that, I think it was at this moment, Diurna got depressed, and he was like, "Okay, I'm gonna fast till death." Like he was all in like lamentation, and then somebody went and encouraged him. No, 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 no! You get up, you fight again, and then he got back into the mode of passion. So in this cycle, one can't really understand the higher values of life because they're just caught in this, they're caught in this circle. But when one comes to the mode of goodness, That's what the characteristic of the mode of goodness is, that we're self-satisfied with whatever we got. We see that as the mercy of the Lord, and we're grateful, and we try to use that in His service. And although we have to be very careful that we go to pure goodness and not get stuck in goodness, because if we get stuck in goodness, then we think the material world is a good place, and that we're just going to stay here forever and enjoy forever.
Right, right.
And when we get in that mode, then we get woken up really quickly because we realize we can't always have our way in things. So, I
Right.
mean, that's what. Can you turn on the light, Mom? Can you turn on the light? Yeah,
Bhakti
it's
Rich, do
yeah.
you have any comments on what we're talking about in this verse?
Uh, well, thank you, Yamuna. I thank you, Lavanga. I had
Yeah.
kind of got it, but I have trouble concentrating and I have trouble understanding. And I got it in the beginning. Like I think I get the gist of it. It's like I got it and then I forgot it. And you know, it seems to be a pattern reading the Bhagavatam for me. Um, I like how you explained it and summarized it, and I like what Lavanga said about not getting trapped in the mode of goodness, because I see myself susceptible to that, and I got to remind myself that this is not a good place to be, no matter what. And I just we talked about pantheism and we talk about impersonalism and Mayavadis. And I like what you said about the pantheism and nature, because I feel the same way about nature. It just I feel very spiritual, from nature and being outside and the animals and the trees. But yeah, I just want to ask straight up. Yeah, I know Guru Maharaj have said before that if I read his books, then maybe I will understand this material better. I mean, excuse me, information. I don't want to say material, spiritual information, not material. So, I have On a Silver Platter, and I almost got to the end of it, but I haven't read it in a while. Excuse me, I have to get my pot is boiling, and I just have a hard time grasping what's going on with the verses in the Bhagavatam a lot of the times, and I don't know why. I think it
Well,
has to do
it
with
seems to me that you followed pretty well what it was we were what it was that it says and what it was that we were discussing. I'm
really.
Yeah, yes, I don't think you should put yourself down so much,
Oh,
and
thank
yeah,
you.
yes, and but I think we've discussed this verse enough, and I think we should go on to text 21. Mother Lavanga, can you read?
Yes, and I can read. I want to apologize. It's kind of dark in the background. All I have is a porch light.
Okay, let's go
But
on to the next one with you, and then and then we'll go on, from there.
okay. Yes. All right. Yasyam sandayamanayam yogino bhakti lakshanaha ashnu sampadyate yoga ashrayam badram ikshata. O king, by this system of remembrance, and by being fixed in the habit of seeing the all good personal conception of the Lord, one can very soon attain devotional service to the Lord under his direct shelter. Report by Srila Prabhupada. Success of mystic performances is achieved only with the help of the devotional attitude. Pantheism, or the system of feeling the presence of the Almighty everywhere, is a sort of training of the mind to become accustomed to the devotional conception. And it is this devotional attitude of the mystic that makes possible the successful termination of such mystic attempts. One is not, however, elevated to such a successful status without the tinge of mixture in devotional service. The devotional atmosphere created by pantheistic vision develops into devotional service in the later days, and that is the only benefit for the impersonalists. It is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 12:5 that the impersonal way of self-realization is more troublesome because it reaches the goal in an indirect way. Although the impersonalist also becomes obsessed with the personal feature of the Lord after a long time. So I think
More of the same, yes?
yeah, I think after, and also I was gonna say, I think after a couple weeks we actually got a report that's kind of short. We
Oh,
got the
yes, that too, yes.
devotion. But but
Because
with
it's
this,
kind of a continuation of the verse before it, in a way.
yeah, it is a continuation of the verse before it, and kind of, I think Prabhupada said in a much better way, what I was thinking about the last verse. But yeah, this it said in the translation here. Let me pull it back up. By this system of remembrance, and by being fixed in the habit of seeing the all good personal conception of the Lord, one can soon attain devotional service to the Lord under his direct shelter. So it's basically giving us a, sorry, my phone's going slow. Basically, I like how it says by, being fixed in the all good personal conception of the Lord, one can attain to this service. Because one of the faults with the impersonal conception of the absolute truth is that there's really nothing to serve. Because with this idea of pantheism, as you were mentioning before, that God is nature, seeing God in nature, that's all nice and everything, but I can't really serve that. It's it's very impersonal. I mean, maybe I could plant, do some that could go into humanitarian work. I could plant some trees, dig some ditches. I don't know, make some
Yeah.
here they talk a lot about cleaning up the oceans because we're right next to an ocean. A lot of protests about putting oil rigs in our waters because we need those. But but really there's no service that can be derived from that. And we see in the Bhagavatam there's many stories about how um people, when they saw this personal feature of the absolute and they realized that God himself is a person, from that point they engaged in his devotional service. Like we see in the example with the four Kumaras who were originally impersonalists, and they were perfect in that process of spiritual life. But when they saw Lord Vishnu and they smelled the tulsi leaves coming from his feet, so it's it's a combination of seeing the personal feature of the Lord, and also we got to give Tulsi Devi credit, mercy of the pure devotee of the Lord, that from then they became personalists, and then they engaged in devotional service. And then we also see again with Dhruva Maharaj. you know he was just doing his prayers, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, in the forest. But when the Lord appeared in front of him and he saw, oh, the personal feature of the Lord, from that moment he wanted to engage in his devotional service. So really, we have to come to this point of realizing that God himself is a person. He has activities, he has feelings and things like this. And this is not just for people that are impersonalists, but I think if we expand our vision a little bit and we're really introspective, at least for myself and many people that I've had open conversations with, this impersonalist idea can sneak into our bhakti, because we can be doing our service, kind of mechanically in a very impersonal way. And I was in New Vrindavan last week, and there's a very nice Prabhupada disciple up there by the name of Varshana Swami. And I spent 3 hours with him, yeah, with another devotee. And he was talking about this, this mechanical devotional service. When we're in that mode of just, doing it, then the taste dries up. You know, it just becomes like another job, and then we get bored, and then we want to go do something else. But this is part of it. In our devotional service, we have to realize that, no, this is not just, a job. but I'm actually doing this for the Supreme Person, for an actual person. And also, this is where, the holy name is all in all. It's our Yuga Dharma. But this is where deity worship can also be very helpful, and helping us realize that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is a person. When you have to get up and dress the Lord, see the Lord, things like this, it can be, and you're trying to do it in the right consciousness. Of course, this can become mechanical too, but it can also be very helpful in training us to develop this personal conception of Christian consciousness. Kind of like it was mentioning before, that pantheism is kind of like a way of training the individual, but then eventually they get to this point of devotional service. And I really like how Prabhupada brought up this point, in the Bhagavad Gita, that the impersonal conception, it's very difficult because it takes you there in an indirect way. I mean, you'll get there, but it's a more kind of frustrating, longer path. So, but Krishna is all merciful. He'll get you back one way or another. But it's best to go the direct way. Don't go kicking and screaming. And it's a little bit more sweeter too. So, with this verse, I think that's also, at least what I get out of it, that it's important that we, in our everyday life, we realize that, we try to realize that God Himself is a person in our service, in our japa as well, and things like that.
Yes. That's very good. I don't know what more I could add to that, because like I said it all in the previous verse, so they're very related. Um, Bhaktivich, are you still there? Would you like to read a verse?
Yes, I would like to. Give me 1 second, please.
Okay.
Okay.
It is
So
2
22.
22. Yes.
Okay. Give me 1 second. My phone is 1 second. I apologize. Okay. You want me to do the Sanskrit?
If you wish, but you can go right to the translation if you wish. It's all right.
Okay, I'll go. Okay. Translation: The fortunate king Pariksit inquiring further said, "O Brahmana, please describe in full detail how and where the mind has to be applied, and how the conception can be fixed so that the dirty things in a person's mind can be removed." Purport: The dirty things in the heart of a conditioned soul are the root cause of all troubles for him. The conditioned soul is surrounded by the manifold miseries of material existence, but on account of his gross ignorance, he is unable to remove the troubles due to dirty things in the heart. Accumulated during the long prison life in the material world, he is actually meant to serve the will of the Supreme Lord, but on account of the dirty things in the heart, he likes to serve his concocted desires. These desires, instead of giving him any peace of mind, create new problems and thus bind him to the cycle of repeated birth and death. These dirty things of fruitive work and empiric philosophy can be removed only by association with the Supreme Lord. The Lord, being omnipotent, can offer his association by his inconceivable potencies. Thus, persons who are unable to pin their faith on the personal feature of the Absolute are given a chance to associate with his Virat Rupa, or the cosmic impersonal feature of the Lord. The cosmic impersonal feature of the Lord is a feature of his unlimited potencies. Since the potent and potencies are identical, even the conception of his impersonal cosmic feature helps the conditioned soul to associate with the Lord indirectly and thus gradually rise to the stage of personal contact. Maharaja Pariksit was already directly connected with the personal feature of the Lord Sri Krishna, and as such, he had no need to inquire from Sukadeva Goswami about where and how to apply the mind in the impersonal Virat Rupa of the Lord, but he inquired after a detailed description of the matter for the benefit of others who are unable to conceive of the transcendental personal feature of the Lord as the form of eternity, knowledge, and bliss. The non devotee class of men cannot think of the personal feature of the Lord because of their poor fund of knowledge. The personal form of the Lord, like Rama or Krishna, is completely revolting to them. They have a poor estimation of the potency of the Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita 9.11, it is explained by the Lord Himself that people with a poor fund of knowledge deride the Supreme Personality of the Lord, taking him to be a common man. Such men are ignorant of the inconceivable potency of the Lord. By the inconceivable potency of the Lord, he can move in human society or any other society of living beings and yet remain the same omnipotent Lord without deviating in the slightest from his transcendental position. So, for the benefit of men who are unable to accept the Lord in his personal, eternal form, Maharaja Parikshit inquired from Sukadeva Goswami how to fix the mind on him in the beginning, and the Goswami replied in detail as follows.
Great, great. Would you like to read the translation one more time and maybe make a
Yes,
few comments? Yes.
yes. Translation: The fortunate King Parikshit inquiring further, said, "O Brahmana, please describe in full detail how and where the mind has to be applied, and how the conception can be fixed, so that the dirty things in a person's mind can be removed."
You can make some comments.
Okay. It's hard. It's hard for me to, you know, really. I don't know how to say it. It's really hard for me to articulate or explain very much how I understand it. But I like. I'll comment that I like Maharaj Parikshit, um, inquiring on behalf of all of us or everybody else, and I really I get satisfaction out of that verse. That's one of the reasons why. And I really like just trying to get my thoughts together. Um, you know, it's just good. It's good information. It's great reading. And one thought occurred to me as I was reading it is like this is real. This is factual information. And by going through this process that Maharaj Parikshit is inquiring about, like he's asking for our benefit, how we can, get out of this material prison, and it felt very real to me, and it doesn't sound like when I would read the Bhagavatam before, it was kind of, it just was like, okay, this is okay. But now I'm reading especially this verse, like here's the formula, here's the way to do it. This is the real factual way of getting out of here, getting out of the entanglement. And Parikshit is asking Sukadev Goswami, I believe, about how can we do it. And it's like it's very real to me, and it's like this is very serious subject matter.
Yes, absolutely. And as we all know, Maharaj Parikshit, he's sitting in the mode of goodness, and he already sees Krishna, and he doesn't have any struggle. He's asking for our benefit, of course. And what strikes me about this verse is the concept of dirty things in a person's mind. That's so vague, but when you think about it, all of these influences that we get from the mode of passion and the mode of goodness can be considered those dirty things that somehow we must get beyond them. And here he emphasizes, or Prabhupada emphasizes another time, that the way to get this process going for those of us who are not already in the mode of goodness, already attached to the Lord, a way to get this going can be, attaching to the Virat Rupa, or the cosmic impersonal feature of the Lord. So here again, he is saying, yes, this can be part of your process. If you're stuck back there in the mode of ignorance, or in the mode of passion. Let's get out. Let's use this method to get out, to get rid of all of our dirty things, and focus on the Lord in an impersonal way at first. Focus with your own, focus then on the pantheistic view, focus on the impersonal energy first, because this is indeed a good step on the way. Now, like I said, if you're fortunate enough to already be in the mode of goodness, maybe you can go very directly. But most of us are here discussing these things over and over and over and over again, and maybe we did it even in other lifetimes because we were happy with being in the mode of passion, and ignorant to the fact that we were in the mode of ignorance. And we just kept being reborn into this same way of being, into the same way of being, until the same way of being, until suddenly one day we wake up and say, wait a minute, there's got to be something more. There's got to be something more. And we evolve beyond those limited conceptions, and begin to see God as a being. At the same time, simultaneously, we're, by doing this process, we're getting rid of our dirty stuff. We're getting rid of all of those passionate things and all those ignorant things that held us back and held us back and held us back. We'll do whatever process to get beyond that. The end process is focusing on the form of Vishnu himself. It said in the verse that I read, focus on the form of Vishnu. So yes, first focus on Om, if you wish, and then focus on a pantheistic view if you want, but you must move forward and focus on the form of Vishnu in order to really move ahead to your consciousness of Godhead. You must move ahead, and it will happen eventually. Krishna is very patient, and he will wait for us lifetime after lifetime. But then, eventually, our karma will be so good that somehow we're plopped into the mode of goodness. And like, wow, if we're not spoiled by it and wishing to hold on to that too, we have a chance of going further. Lavanga, would you like to add to that?
I think you said almost everything perfectly. The only thing I think I would really want to add to this is I'm appreciating in this verse how Maharaj Parikshit is asking how to fix the mind, because really the mind is where everything starts. It reminds me of a poster I saw when I was in high school. How the teachers always have posters up on their like walls, and so anyway, it's just one of the things that stuck with me, and it said, let me think so I can get it right. Watch your thoughts, because your thoughts become words. Watch your words, because your words become actions, and watch your actions, because your actions shape your destiny. So it was really pointing out how everything kind of starts in the mind with a thought. And where we're fixing our mind, that's going to determine what type of thoughts we have. So for Maharaj Parikshit, who's asking this main question, what is the duty of a man who's about to die? Because he only has 7 days. So this is a really important question. Okay, yeah, where do I put my mind? How do I fix it? What do I do? Because the moment, if you knew you only had 7 days left to live, the mind might be going crazy with all sorts of, okay, I gotta wrap up this affair, I gotta wrap up that affair, I gotta do this, gotta do that. And even on a normal day, the mind's going in 50 million directions, especially if you're me. So I can appreciate that this question is really, it's essential to spiritual life, asking where we should put our mind. And this idea is in all spiritual traditions, not just in Krishna consciousness, but I mean, you go to a church and you'll see a pastor talking about how watch where you put your mind, or even in Islam, watch where you put your mind, because we see in the example with Ajamil how just kind of letting his staying there and letting his mind dwell on that prostitute that he saw, how that became an action, and that action changed his destiny. So, so so yeah, I appreciate that Maharaj Picture brought that up. And then also one of the things that you said, I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah, you were talking about the Virat Rupa. And just like a practical point on this, because I've seen this play out with a guest, like with certain guests that come to our temple. And sometimes we get some in particular that they're really not attracted to the personal feature, and they actually have issues with sometimes our Bhagavatam class because our stories and our philosophy point to this personal conception of the absolute. And so I was discussing with another devotee, well, at the same time, this person doesn't want to accept the personal idea, but still they're coming, so we want to help them. And so we were talking about how, well, maybe we should just point them to second canto, to the universal form, the Virat Rupa, because that might help, and it just shows how open Krishna is. And I don't want to use the word liberal because I don't like the connotation that they can carry with it, liberal, conservative, whatever. But Krishna is very, there he makes things. Has like different ways of getting somebody to the goal, and that this is one of them. And it's not just like, okay, yeah, somebody can take this conception if they're not ready for personalism, but I've seen it play out with with certain people that come to Krishna consciousness. Just sometimes they're not ready for it, so that's why we have things like second canto. Yeah.
Yeah, very good. Yeah. So, do you have any comments, Dr. Rich?
Oh, I was just thinking, that not trying to be off topic, but the Bhagavatam it's just nectar, and like I say in the other classes that I go to, sorry, that's my microwave. The other classes that I go to on the Srimad Bhagavatam, it's really nectar sometimes for me, and it makes me want to just keep reading, and not stop. Just keep reading the Bhagavatam infinitely. And I like what you said about, because I wanted to comment on the universal form too, but I forgot. And it kind of trips me up a lot because when I think of the universal form, sometimes I think of like this humongous form of Vishnu. And I just get it mixed up because I think it's that. But then I also think of it as the Virat Rupa, if I'm saying that right. It's, like the mountains are his bones, and I forget, the trees are his hairs. And so I always get tripped up when we talk about the universal form or the Virat Rupa, because I don't really have a clear definition of it in my mind. I think it's multiple things, and it just confuses me basically.
Well, this would be, Lavanga, if you can comment on this if you like, but I think this might be a nice topic to ask Maharaj to comment on also the comparison of the universal form to the Virat Rupa. Yeah. Would you like to comment?
I think Manath Maharaj could probably do it so much better than I can. But yeah, the universal form, it's just in my understanding, it's basically like the form of the Lord that has everything in it. All you can see it all at once, kind of like Arjuna saw in the 11th canto of Bhagavatam. He saw past, present, future, everything that was about to happen, all nature, the material modes of goodness, passion, ignorance. That's like, it's basically a form of the Lord, according to my understanding, that just has everything. That's a very
Whereas
simple
the Virat Rupa has what? Nothing?
the Virat Rupa.
Yes, explain that because how does that compare to the form, the universal form?
Oh,
Because yeah, yeah, it says
the
the
universal.
yeah,
Okay, and well, at least what I've been told, I could be wrong, but the Virat Rupa, like, well, as it's talked about in the second canto, where like the trees are the Lord's hairs and things like that.
right. That's what
My
we're
my understanding is that at least what's being explained there, at least is what everybody told me, that it's not actually like factual, but it's just a way to help like fix the mind.
yeah, because here it's described as the cosmic impersonal feature of the Lord. So
Right.
I guess the universal form is a personal vision with everything included in it, and the impersonal feature, the other one is an impersonal feature, which would just be the energy of the Lord, you know.
Right, exactly. Yeah, the Virat Rupa, yeah. It's kind of like it's a way for impersonalists to kind of fix their mind on some form without really doing it.
Yeah, a
Because
formless
yeah,
form.
formless. Like
Yes.
there's like I think it mentions that the eyes are like the sun and the moon or something like that. I can't remember everything it
We're
says.
coming up to that. Were you telling me we're
Yeah.
coming up to that because we are reading the second canto. That's what
Yeah.
is coming up. Oh, I really look forward to it.
Right.
Yes.
But also I would like to hear from Maharaj.
Okay, we can put that as a question in the chat, so he can answer. He answered a couple of questions by Govinda today, and so if you go to the chat, well, I did I post it in the was it posted? If it's not in the chat already, I'll put it in the chat. But it's on Maharaj's Facebook page, and you press on the link, and it takes you to his YouTube page, which is Kishore Kunda or something like Kishore Kunda, but it will take you there, and you'll
Okay.
see is like the second one that he's done in English so far. So
All right.
Back to Rich can watch, and any other English speakers only can watch. Um, um, the questions today were out of the book Shyamananda, The Joy of Radharani, which is also a nice book for a possible discussion further by the book club at some point. And Maharaj has also promised to to speak more about the um, Omkara or the Pranava, which Omkara, it's the same thing, Pranava, Omkara. I asked him about it here in Puerto Rico, and he spoke a bit about it in Spanish, but we are awaiting the English version because, you know, to be sure that I understand.
Right.
I know, no me atrevo a hacerlo yo. Yeah. So back to Rich, you have a question to ask?
Yes, Yamuna. I just want to ask. I did see that link where Guru Maharaj was speaking in English, and I wanted to ask you if this is like, this going to be like a reoccurring regular thing, or is this just a freak, like
Yes.
random?
No, this is the this is replacing his being present all the time in the classes, because sometimes he doesn't feel so well, and it's very hard for him to be ready and to give us the class. So the questions that we are asking, he makes a short answer. Could be 5 minutes, could be 15 minutes, could be 20 minutes. And he's done many questions like this in Spanish, because in
Right.
Spanish he's also speaking about the places in India where we may very well go to visit in October. I
Wow.
say we may very well because I don't know if I will actually be there, but my hope and desire is to be there. So we may very well visit these places, and he's preparing us for that with all of these introductory lectures about the places in India. But he it's very convenient for him to answer our questions at any moment in a video class form like that. And you are also free to watch it at any moment. All you have to do is keep following him.
Uh,
Now, That's not to say that he won't make an occasional appearance here and speak to
Right,
us in person. He has promised that he will do that from time to time.
right.
I work very hard at making these type of things happen. So,
Thank you, Yamuna.
yeah,
Your hard work, I definitely appreciate it very much. So I thank you for your hard work with all of this.
yes. And I would also be um, willing to go on and discuss another one of the books, like once a month, like we were doing a book club discussion. I don't know if
Yes.
Yamananda would be a good book, or if maybe we should stick to the books that are more sangraha, like the On a Silver Platter, which I've already discussed. But we could discuss maybe Brilliant as the Sun or
Yeah.
other books, so you can let me know, even since you are maybe the most interested in hearing, you could let me know which book you would like to discuss. And
Yeah. Oh, excuse me, Yamuna. Yeah. Brilliant as the Sun was the one I was thinking of because I remember Guru Maharaj said that the easier reads, more simple books were On a Silver Platter and Brilliant as the Sun. And I already bought On a Silver Platter, and I'm going to buy Brilliant as the Sun.
okay, well, you let me know when you have it. If you have it
Okay,
by June, maybe at the end of June, we can start book club again.
okay,
Brilliant as the Sun, it has a special place in my heart because it's the first book that I edited for Maharaj, and so it's still full of some mistakes. Whenever I go back and read it, I'm like, oh my
that's
God,
okay.
I let that go by.
That's okay.
Yeah, but
Nobody's perfect.
yeah, right.
And you edited On a Silver Platter too, right?
Yes, I did.
Oh, okay,
Yes,
that's what I. Okay, thank you. Thank you
yes.
for your editing.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. One of them says I'm Bactine Divya. One says I'm Bactine Rosalind. One says I'm Yamuna Devi Dasi. But I'm in there. As you look at the books in English, you'll see. Yes.
You have many
Right.
aliases?
Yes. So we've been here for an hour. Personally, I'm satisfied. We've each read a verse and we've all discussed them. And I wish Govinda could have arrived. He told me that maybe he would arrive around 9 o'clock, but it is indeed 9:30. And if he were to turn on his camera right now, I'd say, "Oh, let's do one more verse for Govinda." But since he's not here, I think we should close today's session.
All right, all right. Well, thank you guys. This was nice.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, well,
Very
thank you,
enlightening.
everybody, and thank you, Manunatha Maharaja, for turning on the Zoom and for listening to us from time to time and for promising to respond to all of our questions. And thank you to his guru, Srila Prabhupada, for opening up the eyes of our spiritual master. And I'm grateful for your association. Thank you, Vanchakalpa Karubias Cha. Thank you for your association as well. And, you know, Manunatha Maharaja Ki Jai.
Jai.
Uh, See you guys next week. Haribol.
Haribol. See you next week.